Today we're going to be demonstrating how to properly maintain, clean, and oil a fishing reel. Improper maintenance to a fishing reel can lead to failures in the field. So what we're going to do first is talk about what ingredients and supplies that we're going to need to do this. Obviously we start with our fishing reel. This happens to be a saltwater fishing reel, which is can be subjected to corrosion due to salt water. It's very important to make sure we take care of these things, because if they're not taken care of correctly, they can rust, they can fail in the field, the gears can seize up. That's why we have to make sure that we put everything back together correctly, that everything's clean when we're done with it. Not really a whole lot of ingredients and supplies required for this. All we really need is rim oil. It's actually made by Remington. It's for guns. However, it works on a lot of things with gears and moving parts. It can be bought at any sporting goods store. I bought this at Academy. We need a flathead screwdriver to replace and remove the two outer housing plate screws from the reel. It's not essential, but it helps. First, what we're going to do is remove the two outer housing plate screws from the outside of the reel where the actual crank is. This is where the two screws are located to actually take everything apart. Once you get it loosened up with the screwdriver, it should come right out. When doing so, you need to be careful, because it's got actually a housing, a spool, and it's also got the crank itself. The crank is where the gears are contained. The spool, you have to be careful, because on the outside it's got small brakes on it to keep the reel from backlashing. If you lose the brakes, the reel won't work properly, so be very careful when you do this. Lastly, we have the actual housing itself. This is where all the big, large parts are contained. This is where everything fits back together. What we're going to do first is assess where everything is and assess what needs to be cleaned first. Obviously, this reel is in fairly good condition. It does have a little bit of rust. That's why we're taking it apart today. You can see the crank actually has the gears that spin. This is what we're going to look at first. When you lay everything out on the towel, make sure that it's a towel that you don't mind getting dirty. The towel itself is going to have oil on it, and you need to wipe your fingers off. So firstly, we're going to actually take the can of rim oil. We're going to shake it up pretty well, because it's aerosol based and it won't squirt properly. It usually comes with a little straw, which makes things a lot easier, because it actually concentrates the spray and it doesn't go everywhere. It can actually go where you focus it. So what we want to do is actually use the rim oil and press very lightly on the applicator top and kind of lightly oil the inner gears. It's important to oil the gears, because the gears are actually what make the reel itself crank. If it doesn't crank correctly, obviously it's going to fail. So we've done the inner workings on the gear. As you can see, it spins pretty well. The gears work correctly. It takes all the surface rust off of it. You can kind of wipe it down too, so it doesn't get greasy. The main thing is to not keep the grease on there permanently. Next, we're going to look at the spool. The spool is in fairly good condition. It just needs a little application, just lightly on the side where it inserts into the crank, where it inserts into the housing. That's pretty much done. We just wipe off the excess, just to make sure that it's not greasy. Lastly, we're going to take a look at the inside of the actual housing of the reel itself. This is again where everything seats, and this is where everything sits. It does have some small gears in it, and it does have some moving parts. So be careful not to strip anything out, and be careful not to oversaturate it, because if you oversaturate it, things become too loose on the inside. We just take a small light spray in there. Everything's clean. Everything's not corroded. Luckily for this one, it's in pretty good shape. And we just kind of wipe off the excess. We make sure everything's clean on the inside. Then we begin to put it back together. Again, when we put it back together, it's essential to make sure that everything is properly seated, or the reel itself won't crank and it won't spin correctly, and it's going to fail in the field. So what we do first is we take the outer housing, we put this, we put the actual spinning part back inside where the actual line goes, make sure it sits, make sure it spins, and then we're going to take the last part, which is the reel housing, or the reel crank rather. We make sure everything's lined up. It's very essential to make sure that we do line these up, because if you don't, it won't seal correctly, and then you've got a problem again in the field. Once this is done, you can tighten the outer housing plate screws down with your finger. Once this is done, the reel's pretty much ready to go, and it's ready to be put back on the rod. You can go ahead and test it out by pressing down the button, and you can see everything's working pretty well. Everything spins, all the gears are fitting back together. That's basically the main rule of thumb to remember when you're using equipment like this, is that if you don't take care of it and you don't keep it properly maintenance, it's going to fail in the field. Thank you.